This is the Sports Porch, Philadelphia, with your hosts, the Grand Schwabini, Rube, and me, your technical director. Come on, Philly, show us a little Eagles, Flyers, Phillies, and Sixers love. The Philadelphia Sports Porch starts now.
Woo!
I get goosebumps when you say the sports porch starts now.
There you go.
I'm fired up.
I didn't steal that from anybody.
It's like you're looking live. It's similar.
Yeah.
Brent Musburger.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna tell everybody what they're watching now. So if you're welcome to the Sports Porch Philadelphia or the Philadelphia Sports Porch or whatever the hell you want to call it, we are live right now, live all over the world on Facebook, on YouTube, on X. On Facebook, we're on Philadelphia Beautiful and the Sports Porch. On YouTube, as you can see in the ticker, we are at Philadelphia Sports Porch. And on X, we are at Philly Porch. And, of course, you can always listen live on our internet radio station. If you just want to listen live to the broadcast, I drop the stream in the comments down there. And I'm going to drop the podcast right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get
your flipping podcast.
Still waiting for the timing on that to be right. So
it's purposefully off. That's what makes it better.
That's the whole point. Just got to, needle me the whole show. So I am your technical director. I am here in the basement studios headquarters. Across from me is the Grand Schwabini and General Seating. And coming to us live from somewhere close to Austin, Texas, apparently not Indiana Township, is Rube, a lifelong Philly fan. And what are we going to do here? Well, we're going to talk all things Philadelphia sports. We got an NFL roundup coming. We got we're going to talk a little Flyers, Michkov Mania. The Sixers are an absolute train wreck, except one guy maybe. The Phillies, what seems to be going on there, and then a little bit of what you guys are watching or streaming. So let's get right into it with page one, the NFL roundup. First of all, the Eagles have done nothing yet.
Well, They did do one thing. Today, they said that they're going to release Slay, and he will be a June 1st cut, saves $4 million against the cap.
Which I do believe the Grand Schwabini talked about last week. Didn't you say that? You said, was it you or Rube? I can't remember.
We spoke about it last week. Yeah, we spoke about what if. Yeah.
I mean, look, it's not surprising. There is a chance he could be back for less money.
Right.
Look, it's one of those things where he played very well last year. You're talking about a cornerback that's 35 though.
Yeah.
At some point it's gonna all collapse.
Yeah.
And you got to pay him over 10 million a year.
Yeah.
So unless he's going to come back for like 5 or 6,
which he might,
probably not. Probably someone will pay him.
You think Detroit will pay him?
Maybe. It just depends on how much cap room they got.
Little homecoming. It's more like a strategic move for Detroit if they do that.
You know what? I was reading recently, as of 30 minutes ago, 2 places for Slay to land if we don't bring him back on a cheaper deal. One, obviously, the Detroit Lions. Do you know what number 2 was, my friends in Pittsburgh?
The Steelers.
The Steelers, because of course. Why not get Patrick Peterson when he can't play anymore? Right.
What they said was the guy, I don't know if he's the defensive coordinator or he's the DB coach there, is a guy he played with in Detroit when he had his first Pro Bowl year, had his best year. Well, and you guys are losing, Pittsburgh's losing everybody else.
Although I was actually listening to some Pittsburgh sports radio on the way in, and what their take on it was that Darius Slay wants to win, and if he wants to win, he's not coming here. That's what their thought process was.
That's exactly
here meaning Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
right.
God forbid we mix our 2 shows together. I mean, we're in the same state, so I guess we can bring it up, but. Yeah, I don't.
I mean, look,
he's better than Patrick Peterson at I would say he's better, but we'll discuss that on the Pittsburgh show.
Yeah.
But I think this is something that we talked about last week. in our scenarios where I think it was you mentioned it, Grant Schwabini, that it's a possibility, or you would maybe release him and then try to bring him back to save some money.
Right.
And as usual, you were right.
Right.
Who knows if they'll bring him back?
Well, that's what they did with him 2 years ago. They released him June 1st designation, brought him back for less money.
Right.
So we'll see.
Right. And Steve chimes in, both Detroit and the Steelers have cap space. Yeah. Everybody's got cap space now.
Yeah.
They increased it by 20 plus million.
Right.
But so, yeah, I mean, that's something that we kind of saw coming. I mean, the only question I would have, and maybe you guys can speak to this quickly, is you have those two young corners, DeJean and Mitchell.
Right.
And they obviously, I mean, from a skill standpoint, from a ready to play football standpoint, they were there. Well, how much of a mentorship did Darius Slay provide them? And are they ready to kind of lose that locker room presence? I'm not saying it's a negative, but I'm saying that do you that's something that if there's a little consistency right there, maybe, it's a good thing to bring him back.
Well,
give them another year.
Well, he was an excellent mentor. He's a really good locker room guy. He was a captain.
Right.
But, at the same time, I mean, you can't look, these two guys played at an elite level last year.
Right.
They don't need babysitter anymore.
Right. That's true. I mean, that is.
Like the way you look at it, if you're the Eagles, if you don't bring Slay back, you bring back Isaiah Rodgers, you probably keep Coop in the slot and you put Isaiah outside. Also, too, at the NFL draft this weekend.
Combine, you mean?
Combine, yes. They were talking to the Eagles secondary coach, and he was asked the question, who's the one player on the Eagles on the defensive side of the ball that we haven't seen much from, but could make a big impact next year? And he said Keely Ringo.
Right.
So I think they do believe Keely Ringo can be a starter one day.
Okay.
So, bring back Rodgers, have him and Keely Ringo fight it out. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it remains to be seen.
Yeah, we'll see.
The combine was going on this past week, and we'll see what develops there. The draft is in about a month.
Right.
I'm sure there's going to be and the new league season starts in a week and a half, something like that.
Yep.
It's or maybe this week. I don't remember. March 5th.
Yeah, well, I think like this Friday, maybe the 7th is when you have maybe like your deadline to franchise tag people
something
or
like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
Do you think the Eagles are going to franchise anybody?
No, they don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
They just they realize from their past that it just ruins relationships.
It does.
And so they just don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't done it since like 2010 or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, who would you franchise? I mean, I don't think there's anybody on that team that you would franchise.
Maybe you franchise Bond.
Yeah. Well, that would be an interesting franchise. That would be, I think, a worthy franchise. If you think about it, the guy's not making a whole lot of money. He's due for a big payday.
Yeah.
He's going to get it. If you franchise him, his payday is going to be big no matter what.
Right. Yep.
So
it would make sense, but I think that they just have a philosophy that they don't believe in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Steve says about 20 million.
The first day of the 2025 league year will be March the 12th.
March 12th. That's right.
Yeah.
March 12th.
All right. Yeah, I read something by releasing Slay, they bring their cap number up to 26 million.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, maybe he'll be back, maybe not, but he did get a Super Bowl ring. So
yeah, he did great. I mean, he was here for 5 years. He, made 3 Pro Bowls and won a Super Bowl and went to 2. Can't ask for anything more.
Thank you.
We gave a 3rd and 5th up for him. I think it was a good call.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you. Big play, Slay. All right. Around the NFL right now, there's some things going on. One thing in the division that I think is rather significant is Deebo
Samuel to the Commanders. For a measly 5th round pick.
Yeah.
What does John Lynch know that we do not know?
Well, here's the thing about that. What's interesting is, once again, there's a bridge between this show and the Pittsburgh show. because
my first thought when I saw it was, what the hell are the Steelers doing?
Yeah,
Why wouldn't the Steelers give up a 5th round pick for this guy?
I think that's what the whole league's saying. Everyone in Texas is saying, where is Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones on this one?
Right.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Samuels is that he averages 9 yards after the catch. I think that's the most in the league. And
but he was horrible last year
at the end of the year.
And he's been dinged up.
Yeah. His yards per catch, I think it was like I saw something where it was like the previous 4 years, like he led receivers in yards after the catch.
Right.
And then last year he dropped from like 9.4 to like 4.
Yeah.
Like he was horrible.
Well,
like
he was nursing like 5 injuries.
Yeah. Well, he had last year he had 51 catches for 660 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's bad. I mean, that's bad for him.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Did you know he's only caught over 1,000 yards once?
Yeah. Yeah. But he's more of like a Swiss Army knife kind of guy who can run guys over.
In San Francisco, they say he's a malcontent. He's fat. He doesn't work out. And they're glad he's gone.
That's what they always say.
It's interesting.
That's what they always say.
But here's an interesting thing. So, Rube, now you know that Joshua Harris, owner of the Sixers, is also owner of the Commanders, right?
And the New Jersey Devils.
As a Sixers owner, how would you rate Joshua Harris's performance?
F.
Okay, an F. So here's the thing. We know how bad Josh Harris is. Doesn't mean he can't be better in another sport, okay? And also, he walks into a situation where he's replacing probably the biggest F- in the history of owners.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So whatever he does is going to look like gold.
He can't lose.
However, is this the first sign? You know, this kind of reminds me of a classic Redskins move. Sign the big name guy who's either disgruntled or, you know, not too long ago had a big year, but last year had a terrible year. And, you know, meanwhile, they've got, what's his name, Diami Brown, like emerging. He could be a good number 2, but now all of a sudden he's not going to play that much because Debo's out there. Like, is it a first move of them kind of like maybe not having it all together?
I really, really hope they follow the Sixers playbook for all of our 6. You know what? Is he going to be James Harden, or is it going to be Paul George?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think that remains to be seen, because the comparisons there, I mean, you can absolutely say that. However, I think this is more of a Cliff Kingsbury thing, where he's saying last year we didn't, you know, the reason that Zacchaeus and Diami Brown emerged was because of Jaden Daniels. So let's put somebody out there who is more talented and can play different positions and creates more of a headache, because Samuels, he can play running back. They can have 2 back sets where both of them are good receivers between Eckler and Samuels. So it creates another wrinkle in that offense. I think that's why they got him, and they could get him on the cheap.
But one other thing though. You had previously explained, now Rob, you might be new to this because you haven't been on, you know, the old shows, but you once proclaimed that Brock Purdy was an instant Hall of Fame caliber quarterback.
Instant.
How is Debo going to perform when he's not playing with a Hall of Fame quarterback?
Well, he's playing with a potential Hall of Fame quarterback in Washington.
Yeah, so I guess everybody's a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
you sound like Ron Jaworski when he anointed the other guy from San Francisco a Hall of Famer, Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah. Well, I did go on record so much saying this that I have absolutely, I don't even have plausible deniability.
You don't.
I mean, like, so many people have heard me say this. But here's the thing. Here's where I have to take credit for. First of all, when Brock Purdy started playing in his first couple games, I saw that he was going to be a good quarterback. Now, I did say he's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. I have to own that, and I have to own it until the end of his career, if he does or if he doesn't. So I own it. But he did take that team to a Super Bowl. I did recognize the talent.
And they could have won it.
And
too.
they could have won it. So, the jury is out. It's not like I never said Kenny Pickett was going to be in the Hall of Fame. Okay. I know.
Hey, Kenny Pickett may be in the Hall of Fame in an Eagles Super Bowl picture. Come on.
No, I mean,
right. Technically he's kind of still there.
I do think there's a chance. I do think there's a chance that Debo could add to that team.
Yeah.
And even if he only adds for 1 year because it's like a contract year, he's trying to prove something. It's a fresh start. I could see him having a good year, but I'm also not, that. It's not like. Like I think they've got further to go. It's really about it's about the defense.
It's 100% about the defense for the Commanders. I mean, I like Steve just said, McLaurin is the clear number one. Yeah. And I don't think that there's going to be any sort of debate about that. I think what it is it's another weapon that is versatile in a Cliff Kingsbury offense. And I believe that's why they got him. As far as the malcontent and the fat stuff, I mean, who knows how much of that is true? I believe he's probably a malcontent, the same for a similar reason that Myles Garrett became a malcontent. He's kind of like, I'm not going anywhere with this team, and I'm 29, and I still have some gas left in the tank. Put me with an up and coming team. And so, they're like, let's get rid of this guy.
Or he could just say, hey, next year we're going to have CMC back. And even if Ayuk's slow to come back, I'm the clear cut number one. So why would I want to go anywhere else?
Well, it's the same thing.
I live in beautiful California.
Well, either that or he saw the handwriting on the wall. He wasn't going to get a contract extension. And maybe the Commanders might give him one.
Yeah.
I being a previous regime fan, not regime, previous Redskins fan. It's a huge stretch to try to compare any new owner to anything Daniel Snyder did. I understand the comparisons, like, okay, Debo is getting a little late in his career. He was sort of a star, but he was never like the star that Albert Haynes was, that Deion Sanders was, that Bruce Smith was, so it's a little bit of a stretch to go down that road. But at the same time, it remains to be seen. So Debo to the Commanders, we'll see. I mean, first of all, he's got to get on the field. Apparently, yes, lose a little weight.
Yeah, he's just got to diet better.
Yeah, he's got. Yeah. And I have no.
He needs more salads.
He's a malcontent, like the producer, like our technical director.
I'm a malcontent now. That's what this is. I'm a malcontent. Okay, all right. Listen, if you haven't already, go over to YouTube at Philadelphia Sports Porch. Subscribe to the channel now. We're starting to get some extra subscribers in there. Yeah, that's nice. I mean, it starts slow and then it kind of snowballs. But Philadelphia, the Sports Porch Philadelphia on YouTube at Philadelphia Sports Porch. Okay, more on the NFL roundup. Everybody, that was getting all crazy about, Cooper Kupp was on the market. What's Matt Stafford's wife going to do? Well, it looks like Matt Stafford, everybody already knows this, is back with the Rams. Rube, let's start with you. Were you surprised by this?
I was a little bit surprised. I kind of felt like the Rams had their run with Kupp and Stafford, and they're rebuilding around their defense. That they were probably going to let him walk and figure out who the quarterback of the future was going to be to grow under McVay.
Right.
But it sounds like now he's back. It sounds like they're even talking about Kupp coming back. They weren't too far off last year. Again, I don't think their problem was on offense. I think they're building around what's going to be a really good defense, and they should be fine. They just ran into a really good Eagles team, and to be honest with you, they're the only team that really gave us a problem in the playoffs.
Yes.
So I don't. I could have seen it go either way, but I think that's good for them. I think Stafford still can play. I think they still got good receivers. But I wouldn't have been shocked to see him go somewhere else either.
Where would you have thought he would go if he wasn't going to be back with the Rams?
You know, if it was all about winning, I would have been wrong. But boy, he would have been fun to see in Vegas, as a bridge quarterback there. Obviously, the Giants desperately need a quarterback, but I think I'd rather play for less money in Los Angeles than go to that dumpster fire. So, I thought maybe Vegas, maybe New Orleans, but they're already paying Carr a gazillion dollars, so
Yeah,
it's probably the best move for him.
Everybody out here in Pittsburgh was all over Stafford coming to Pittsburgh. And if you think about it, you look at a guy like Stafford. Why did he leave Detroit? Because he wanted to win.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So none of the teams that were on the list are winning teams next year,
right?
No matter what they do. And adding him, I mean, he's staring at he's an injury away from retirement, right? So there, in my mind, there was no question he was going to stay with the Rams, and this was a negotiating tactic by both the Rams and his camp to try to get him to a team-friendly deal. And part of it was probably bringing Cooper Kupp back. They have one more bite at the apple with this group, and that's saying a lot, for a guy who's going to be 37, 38 years old next year.
Yeah, it's true, because the team as a whole is pretty good.
Yeah.
But you take Stafford off it, and then they're not a playoff team.
Nothing. Yeah.
So
I'll tell you what, though, their defense is going to carry that team for a while.
Yeah, well, that's because they drafted two big tackles to replace Aaron Donald, and they're playing well. And
but the point is you can have the best defense in the league, and without a quarterback, you're just 500.
Yeah. So I look for them to draft a quarterback this year high, and that's a situation in which I think Stafford is the kind of guy who's going to be like, yeah, it makes sense. So it's not going to bother him at all, because he knows. He knows he's the starter,
right?
As long as he wants to be.
Right.
So I think I think it was a good move by them. Anything else on the NFL roundup before I remind people why they're watching us?
Well, I guess one last thing, they're saying that it's looking more and more like potentially Aaron Rodgers to the New York Giants.
That would be great.
Yeah, what a mess. What a mess. I mean, he doesn't want to move. What
a disaster. Why would the Giants, after last year's disaster, the last decade of disaster, want to bring him in? They got to start over and move on and draft a quarterback.
Yeah. Welcome to the hell that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They also need to do the same kind of thing, but they just keep middling around in the middle. So yeah, I don't understand that either. I mean, it's kind of like it kind of reminds me of when the Giants brought in Kurt Warner, except Kurt Warner was younger and a little better at this age than Rodgers.
Well, I mean, but think of it like this. Look, I mean, statistically, he didn't have a bad year. I mean, he had 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. I think threw for like 3,900 yards.
Yeah, can you say Russell Wilson with the Broncos?
Yeah, sure.
Last year he was there?
Sure.
Yeah.
But but also the rest of that team was a total dumpster fire.
Yeah.
The Giants defense isn't terrible. You assume if Aaron Rodgers goes there, so there goes Devontae Adams. And now you have Devontae Adams and that really good rookie wide receiver they had, Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe they draft, if they do that, maybe they draft Ashton Genty in the first round. They got a stud running back now. Look, they could be a decent, like a 10-win team next year if things go right. I don't think that Dable's a terrible coach or anything. I mean, he obviously took him to the playoffs with Daniel Jones of all people.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, and also think of it this way too. If you're the GM of the Giants and you just survived the Saquon debacle, barely, and you're Dable, if you get off to like a 2-7 start, you're probably done. So this could be a way to potentially win some games and be in the mix this year and not lose your job mid-season. It's a thought. I mean, it's just a thought process.
Okay, so as fans, now obviously we know as fans, the Giants are not anywhere near the top half of our list
Right,
of teams we want to
right.
watch, unless they're playing the Eagles,
Right.
or the Cowboys. But as fans, do you want to watch Aaron Rodgers play anymore? I don't care. Like if you told me, I mean, this is going to be an easy thing. If you told me there was a Commanders game on and they were playing Team X, and there's a Giants game on with Aaron Rodgers and they were playing Team Y, which game do you think people are going to watch? They're going to watch the game with Jaden Daniels.
Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm
but,
just saying that, like, it's not even.
Well,
it's from a fan's perspective.
But there's also, I mean, like, how they try to get everybody in on Thursday night. Well, I'd rather watch, Aaron Rodgers of the Giants, battle the Eagles than Jameis Winston battle the Eagles.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
yeah, I guess there's something to be said for that.
One other NFL note, just to bring up here, very interesting. Because of the Saquon debacle on Hard Knocks last year, apparently, now I thought the NFL basically told teams that you have to do it.
Well, normally what happens is they pick someone that's got a high pick or hadn't been on before, didn't make the playoffs, something like that. Yeah, there's
right.
rules around.
But I thought that they actually told teams that you had to do it. Apparently not, because of what happened with Joe Shane, the GM of the Giants. Nobody wants to do it this year. So they've decided that they're doing Hard Knocks with Bill Belichick's North Carolina Tar Heels football team.
Please.
Isn't that
Did they? But
look,
last year was the first.
I'll watch. I mean, if she puts on a cheerleading outfit and they show her like,
you're going a little far.
I don't think so. I think all three of us would watch. Sorry,
but they were saying, but last year was the first year they did a Hard Knocks just on the in between season, right? Not even the preseason. Had they ever done that before? Usually it's preseason. Last year was before the draft and leading up to the draft, which I found really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if they're going to do the preseason Hard Knocks or if they've just done away with the before the draft Hard Knocks.
Well, they've tried a lot of different things. Remember last year they also did the in division end of the season.
Yeah,
with the AFC North.
Yeah, and it sucked.
And it was horrible because
I didn't watch it. Yeah.
It sucked.
It was horrible because you can't divide 4 teams into like a 50-minute program.
Yeah,
no, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was. I watched the first 2 episodes,
and they gave you nothing.
And it gave me nothing. And then the media dropped it too. They did. Right. They barely talked about it. Yeah.
I think that show's kind of jumped the shark.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I think what they should do is they should actually secretly follow these guys around after practice and at night.
Oh,
that would be fun.
So stalking,
like the old Girls Gone Wild videos. Could be NFL Stars Gone Wild.
See where your head is tonight.
Yeah. It's always there, Schwab. It's always there. It's just looking for a reason to come out. That's
is our malcontent perverted technical director.
Oh, now I'm a malcontent pervert.
Well,
listen, I consider that a compliment. All right.
You know I love you. You know I love you, technical director.
Yeah, I know. You better. All right. If you're watching,
I don't even have the heart to call you what I want to call you right now.
Yes, you do. You just don't want to do it in public.
I don't even have the heart. Just I feel like it would be wrong.
All right. If you're watching the Sports Porch Philadelphia, you're watching us live right now on Facebook, on YouTube, and on X all over the world. We encourage you to go over to YouTube if you're not watching there and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Philadelphia Sports Porch. On TikTok, we are at Philly Porch. Those are the 2 channels we're trying to grow right now. Or on X, we're at Philly Porch. Excuse me. On TikTok, we're Philadelphia Sports Porch as well. And I'm going to drop the podcast right after the show on the Apple podcast thingy, iHeartRadio app, and Spotify. Page 2. Let's turn the page here. Let's talk a little hockey. The Calder Trophy race is heating up.
For those of you who don't know, that's for the Rookie of the Year in hockey
in the NHL. I can't wait to hear our friend from Pittsburgh, Hockey Jesus, chime in on this because he seems to man, does he have deranged?
Yeah.
Haterade.
Mitchkov derangement syndrome.
He does.
MDS.
Yep.
Let's put up these stats here, Schwaber, and why don't you talk to us about
I'll
this?
walk you through it a little bit.
Please.
So, obviously, you got a tight race here. Some really good players here. You got Macklin Celebrini for the San Jose Sharks. He was the number 1 pick this year. You got Matvei Michkov. You've got this Lane Hudson guy. I'm going to guess, since he's got 4 goals and 42 assists and 22 minutes of time on ice, I'm going to guess he's a defenseman.
Well, the D next to the 48 probably.
Well, there you go.
There
hey, then the Schwabini is correct.
There you go.
And then you've got this Dustin Wolf. I believe he's on the Calgary Flames.
Calgary
Flames.
Caligari.
You know, it's somewhere in Canada.
That's like an Italian dish.
Do any of these guys have normal names, by the way? Isn't there?
No.
Why isn't there like a Mark, a Chris, a Rob? I don't know.
Because in order to play hockey, you have to be Russian, Czech, Swedish, or Canadian.
So here's the interesting thing. So you got Michkov is up on goals by 1 over Celebrini. Celebrini is up by 1 on assists on Michkov. They both have 44 points. Celebrini has done it in fewer games because he missed a little bit of time. Now, it all depends on how much you believe in this stuff. The plus minus, obviously you look at Celebrini and you see it's a minus 24.
Right.
I mean, that just basically tells you either A, his team is so terribly bad that anybody on the ice is just going to be in a minus gigantic hole, or he plays no defense.
Right.
Right. So I think it's a notch that, Michkov is better at -9. Still not great though. And the other thing that was kind of interesting is the time on ice, with Torts playing his mind games. Michkov is basically down about 4 or 5 shifts to the other 2 guys per game. So he's out there putting these numbers up at 16 minutes, and these other guys are at 19 minutes and 22 minutes. So it'll be interesting. I think what it really comes down to in the end, it's really just going to be who has the most points in the end. I think is probably going to win it. That's what it's going to be. Who has the most points? That's who they're going to give it to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it actually kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, unless your plus minus is so horrible.
Right.
And so I'm giving the edge to Matvei right now because, Celebrini's plus minus is horrible, even though his time on the ice is about 3 more minutes per game. So that's another couple shifts.
Right.
But
although actually Steve does make a good point there where he says, they hate the Russians, so they could give it to Celebrini. That makes a lot of sense because, I don't know if Celebrini is an American or a Canadian, but either one is ahead of Russia. and they're so out on Russia that they had the 4 Nations tournament and they didn't have any team representing Russia. That's like Ovechkin.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you had the tournament without Ovechkin in it.
Right.
So, they hate the Russians, whoever runs this league. So he's going to have to, probably Matvei is going to have to win the point total significantly to win.
Steve says he's a Canuck, I think.
He is Canadian for sure.
Yeah. Is he?
Yeah. So, Rube, any thoughts on that?
No, I think the Grand Schwabini said it all. It'll be in most points. It'll be interesting though, is that Michkov does have a lot of clutch goals, right? He's got some overtime winners.
He does.
He's got some shootouts. So he's really exciting to watch, and he comes up big in the big moments. I haven't watched the other guys honestly play, so they could be just as clutch at the end of the game. Who knows? But at the end of the day, it's going to be who has the most points, unless this goalie is just ridiculously and stands as ahead the rest of the year. But Calgary's not going anywhere.
Yeah, and Steve said he's cooled. So Jesus says he has cooled off. Michkov shootout goal in Winnipeg was, I think he means sweet.
I think he does. That's actually that's a really good step in the right direction for Steve.
Yeah.
With battling his syndrome.
What did HJ say the other night? He was just like, Mitch got. He was at the game next to a guy. During that game, he was saying, Mitch Goff maybe not as good as advertised, but Jamie Drysdale's a stud. So that should tell you something.
There you go. Charlie Kovacs on Facebook just tuned in. He said his sleigh officially gone. That's back at the beginning of the show, but yes.
It's a yes.
I mean, he's been released.
He's been cut.
Well, he's going to be cut with a June 1st designation. He can be re-signed by the team for less money.
There you go.
So we'll see.
All right. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks for that. Amy May says, I love your shirt, Mark.
Hey.
There you go.
This is one of those where I have so many sports-related shirts.
Yes.
And sometimes, how you put a shirt in a drawer and it just somehow it finds its way to the bottom.
Yes.
And so then you just never break it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, tonight I was like, I know I have some good Flyer shirts hanging around somewhere. There it was, bottom of the drawer. I'm like, hey, this might be the second wearing of this.
Yeah, that's your best Flyer shirt. That's my favorite Flyer.
You like this?
Yeah.
One? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I'm all about the black background.
It's the old Mitchell and Ness old school.
Steve says Flyers are on top. They need more defense and depth scoring. And Amy wants to know if she bought you that shirt.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess you did.
Yeah. Was she not home when you left to come to the studio?
She was handling something on the phone.
Was she trying to? Oh, I thought maybe she was down at Trader Joe's trying to find me.
No.
You know what would make that shirt better, Schwabini?
What?
If it had like the laces on it, like the holes with the laces.
Could be. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
There you go.
Yeah. I think we should retrofit it.
There you go. Okay. Sports Porch Philadelphia. Moving on to page 3. This is heartbreaking. Of course, the Sixers, Embiid's season is over. They're not looking very good. Nice on the green board there. Rube was pretty much 100% right with his prediction before the season.
He nailed the prediction.
What we want to know is, who is Quinton Grimes? Who is this kid? 44 points, 6 threes, 3 steals versus the Warriors. Let's talk a little bit about this guy.
Is it a diamond in the rough, Rube?
I couldn't even bring myself to watch the Sixers on Saturday, and I could think of like a million other things I would have preferred to watch.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch it. No, he's not a diamond in the rough. He had a big game. Let's move on.
No, you want to hear something funny, man. So, I assume they were just going to get destroyed by the Golden State Warriors, right? Yeah. So I look at the score at halftime, and like, the Sixers are up 10 at halftime. And then I see like Maxi's got no points. By the way, they're playing him with his like broken hand. I can't shoot.
Right. Yeah.
And Paul George has made 1 bucket. The two of them combined have 3 points, and we're beating them by 10.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what the hell's going on? How's that possible? Right. and then I saw that this guy had like, I don't know, maybe had like 23 points or something at halftime. And I'm like, you know what? This guy keeps putting up some good numbers each game he goes out there. Like, he's consistently scoring like 10 to 13 points, He's
16-8 a game, man.
Is that it? 16.8. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, I'll watch this guy. And then he just freaking went off. Like, dude, he even thought he was a star. Like he was basically like Maxey would give him the ball and Paul George would give him the ball, and he was just like, yeah, I'm just shooting it. I mean,
he thought he was Steph, man.
Dude, he did. And I will tell you too, it is kind of a shame that they couldn't figure this out with Paul George, because if you watch the game, I mean, Paul George was freaking money down the stretch, man. He banged a couple threes and hit a pretty, off balance hard too. I mean, they wouldn't have won the game without Paul George doing it at the end. He's just a really good player that's unfortunately never going to win anything. It's kind of a shame.
Right.
But no, actually, you know what? I looked into this Quinton Grimes. He might be a diamond in the rough. He's actually been in the league for a couple years, and everywhere he's been, he's scored in double digits. maybe he's just never really had a chance.
Who's
I mean,
who's he played for? Has he played for anyone decent?
I think
The Mavericks. Here it is,
just
right here. The Mavericks, the Pistons,
and the
he
Knicks,
played for
right?
the Knicks for 3 seasons.
Yeah. And his numbers are like pretty good for somebody you never heard of. Like, and actually, like in this game when he got the 44, I think like his previous high was 36. So it's not like he's like never scored like this before. You know?
Well, he played for a great coach in college too. He played at Houston, so they've been very good for the past 5-6 years.
Yeah, but I mean, look, all I'm saying is it would be nice if this guy can stick around and maybe be a valuable role player. You know? Somebody you can bring off the bench and might drop 20 or 30 here and there.
I think the bigger question now is Embiid's season is over. What's going to happen? Because if we go down the Rube highway, it's throw everybody off the ship and start over next year. The closer you get to the bottom, the closer you have a shot at, a top pick.
Right. Well, and actually for them, it's essential that they lose, because the way it works is because of a previous trade, if they have the 7th pick or worse, or higher,
right,
they lose the pick. If it's
and they're number 7, and they're 7th right now, right? They're the 7th worst team.
Right. If it's top 6, it's protected and they keep it.
Yeah.
So,
what happens next year? So if they get to keep it this year, don't they have to give it away next year?
No, I think it's something else. Like if they get your 2nd round pick next year or something like that.
We should do some research on that one.
Yeah.
Pat Off Track says, can we get Calvin's kid on for Sixers expertise? He has class on Monday nights, Pat Off Track. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
but he does want to come back.
I hear a lot of excuses.
That's what he told me. He has class on Monday nights.
You're the parent. Make it happen.
He's 18. He's in college. He can do whatever he wants.
You're still a parent. He's always your kid.
Says the guy with no kids.
That's right. I'm damn good at it.
Back to your bullshit.
I've had no issues. No issues with my children.
None whatsoever.
None.
That's right. That's right.
0.
You learn from yourself. Never have kids. Right. You got it.
I'm the smart one.
All right. Let's go. Come on. Sixers. Tearing it down.
Well,
top 6 pick. They get to keep it.
Well, look, the bottom line, look, they should continue to lose and hopefully get a top 6 pick. And then you hope they win the lottery or come in second, because the first 2 guys are pretty good.
Cooper Flag
and some other guy. And
they're good. Cooper Flag and
some other guy. And the number 2 pick, the Sixers have drafted some other guy.
And the other thing is too, I'm not convinced that it's not fixed. So I could see them wanting the Sixers to get Cooper Flag. That's just a little sidebar. Because the Sixers are an important team for the league. Whereas I'm sure they don't really care, about, whoever stinks that I'm not even thinking of.
Right.
I don't even know who's down there. Washington Wizards.
So you're actually saying that you believe there's a chance that that they're not going to have a choice in losing.
No, I'm saying that the Sixers can ruin it,
right,
by winning,
right,
and they will try to win,
right.
But I think that they will fall into that, abyss, and hopefully they'll get lucky in the lottery.
You mean the lottery?
Wink,
right? You're talking about the lottery,
right?
Gotcha.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But look, the bottom line is right now it's just Joel Embiid is going to have some kind of experimental surgery, which is a prayer for a miracle to hopefully come back and play next year and play well. And
he won't play. He won't even play next year, is what we're hearing. Is the right move to just sit him the rest of the season and all of next season.
You heard that? Really?
Yeah, they said, or there's a thing you can do called like a medical retirement, which will save us some cap room. But they're saying whether it's the microfracture surgery or some other experimental thing, likely it's a whole year. It's 12 months of recovery, and then see what happens. And honestly, if that's the case, okay, fine. But listen, it all comes down to, with or without him, there's not enough around him to win anyway. So I say I still stick with blow it up and let's start it again.
I agree with you, Rube.
Well, there's really nothing to blow up. I mean, you're basically going to run with Maxie McCain, whoever your number one pick is this year, and that's it. I mean, you'll try to trade Paul George. Maybe somebody will take him off your hands. Maybe you'll get retirement medical money for Joel Embiid, but he's going to be there for either next year or the year after if he's going to try to come back. But you're basically going to play a year and a half without him, so you'll stink anyway, which actually will be good for picks. But that's the blow it up. I mean, there's really nothing to not blow up.
Right. I think
what he's saying is it would, maybe it would be nice if you could just move on from Embiid.
Right.
But I don't even know that you can do that at this point.
I'm sure you can. I mean, you can literally you could tell him.
Well, no, he's owed like $300 million for years.
Well, that money's gone, is what I'm saying.
Right.
You get a medical retirement out of him.
Yeah.
Hey, look, if it is a 12-month recovery, who's to say he doesn't say, you know what? I mean, it's not like it. Look, it's not like the guy doesn't play hard when he's there,
right?
And he's in a lot of pain, and he suffered a lot of injuries. So, nobody knows what's really going on in Joel Embiid's head. He may at some point say it's just not worth the wear and tear on my body. And I think that's kind of what Rube is hoping for. It's what I'm hoping for, where he just says, I'm done, because he's not going to win a championship. I think that's obvious.
I think he's somebody who's struggling to come to terms with it, though.
Right.
And I don't know that he will. I think he'll always believe that if he tries some experimental surgery, that might be the fix.
Yeah. Well, experimental is a big word. It could be one of those things where the doctors come back to him after the experimental surgery and say, it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, what do you do?
Right.
So, and of course, we're not hoping this is what happens to Joel Embiid. We're just kind of speculating on all this, on all the possible outcomes. But you're right, Schwaber, that this is kind of, when he's got to go down for the season and probably going to be out at least into next year, if not all of next year, you're kind of blowing it up anyway.
The other thing, too, is that there was a report out, and we don't really know if it's true or not, but Stephen A. Smith reported that apparently Joshua Harris, the wonderful owner of your Sixers and Commanders and New Jersey Devils, he apparently was thinking it correctly and did not want to extend Joel Embiid, and Daryl Morey apparently talked him into it.
There you go.
And so Stephen A. Smith said, I have a feeling what you're going to see is, with what's happened with Joel Embiid, Daryl Morey's going to be on his way out.
There you go.
Goodbye. Right. Goodbye. What has that guy done? He didn't win in Houston. He hasn't won here. He seems to be like this grand poobah of GMs. But I say, yeah, goodbye. Start with a new GM. I feel bad for Nick Nurse, but what are you going to do? Your hands are tied.
Yeah, I mean, it's not Nick Nurse's fault. I mean, what can he do? He's just playing.
He's playing the hand he was dealt, and it's just a crap sandwich hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that what I do find interesting is that now that Josh Harris is the owner of the Commanders, and my past history is here, I'm being indicted on a regular basis now that the Commanders have become a potential threat for the Eagles.
What do you mean you're being indicted?
What do you mean?
It's this constant reminder that Josh Harris, who has kind of messed up the process with the Sixers, is now the owner of your past favorite team, TD. And
you do have it is a concern.
Yeah,
you do have to worry.
It's just never going to stop. It's never going to stop.
You have to worry about it. You have to worry about it.
All right.
Another thing that we can keep on our tick sheet.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm full on board for the Philly show.
Yes.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Yes.
Let's go Fightins.
Yeah.
10-9, 876ers.
Yes.
Whatever the hell they say for the Flyers. Throw the Fosnacht on the ice.
What?
They had
Still the what on the ice?
the Fosnacht.
What's that?
Or what's not maybe Fosnacht? Yeah, Fosnacht is like this glazed type donut, and that Flyers game we snuck into where I met Tommy Lasorda, it was Fosnacht night, and when Chelios came out and Hextall skated out to try to beat up Chelios.
Did he hit his head recently?
They threw donuts on the ice.
Really? I don't remember that. No, I don't remember that.
It's burned into my memory.
Oh, okay.
Of course, I was drunk and high at the time.
You might have been seeing things.
Maybe I was just a little anxious and a little hungry.
Right.
I don't know.
Fosnacht. What is that? Is that a German word? Fosnacht?
Yeah, Fosnachts. Yeah.
Are you sure you're not thinking Fox Chapel? Or,
no, that's him. He thinks he lives in Fox Chapel.
Technical director.
I pay school taxes to Fox Chapel.
I do.
Can you guys give each other a hug and move on?
No. All right. Next category.
Next item up for bid on the Philadelphia Sports Porch. If you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, and X, of course, we're on every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And we drop the podcast right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. Hey, man, baseball season's here. My
whole thing.
We call page 4 Philly's lack of excitement.
Right. That's just kind of what I want to bring. I guess the question is, why is there such a lack of excitement? Look, is it because the team, lost 3 years in a row in the playoffs and lost from World Series to NLCS to divisional round? Is it because the Eagles just won the Super Bowl and we're all just still enjoying that? It almost feels like they're falling a little bit into that kind of what used to be the Sixers category, which is wake me up in the playoffs.
Right.
But if you really look at it, they have a pretty darn good team. It's just, it's not a lot different. They certainly got a really good fifth starter now.
Yep.
In Luzardo. But outside of that, it's not really very different. Andrew Painter is going to probably come up in the second half, which is a good thing. It's not terribly different, at least not with the bats. So, and I think we all just sort of feel like the Phillies, the big negative is that they swing at pitches out of the zone and get into a slump in the playoffs. And, it's almost like we're just expected to believe we'll be hot at the right time this year. It's almost like it's up to luck. You know what I mean? I don't know. What do you think, Rube? Do you feel that there is no excitement as well?
Well, you just rattled off a lot of good reasons for it. And I would agree, right? I said last week, I think I said that perhaps the Eagles winning the Super Bowl would be the best thing to happen to Phillies because it takes a little bit of the pressure of the city off of their shoulders. You countered that with, well, I don't know, maybe they feel more pressure to win because of that. I'm not convinced of what you said. I think it's more the former. Everyone's on a high from the Eagles. Yes, they're coming off of a third consecutive playoff exit. But, to me, it kind of feels like it's a definition of insanity. We expect to go up with the same lineup and expect different results this year. And I think Philadelphia fans, especially us who've been watching it for our whole lives, we're like, yeah, you've done nothing to change your lineup. The pitching will be good, great, but if you can't hit the ball when it counts.
Didn't one of you guys mention last week though that I get the whole lineup, same names. You did mention though, I think that Schwarber, they're looking to bat him fourth. Well,
they are. They're doing it. They're doing it in spring training. So what they're going to do is they're going to bat Turner first. They're going to bat Bryce second, and I think then they're going to go Bohm and then Schwarber at cleanup. So
yeah.
No, look, I like the idea of that just because I feel like Turner, if he's batting in the leadoff spot, is probably not thinking as much about home runs. He's thinking more about making contact, and maybe that'll get him back to being a 300 hitter. I like having Harper in the 2-hole because the more at bats you get him in a game, the better. And he also works a lot of walks. So you could find yourself in a situation where you start a lot of games with 2 guys on. But yeah, and look, I mean, I think they really do believe that Bryson Stott can have an all-star caliber year. Apparently he was basically playing with a banged up elbow the entire, season last year. And, they expect him to be a much better hitter this year. But, I don't know. I mean, I still see, look, Schwarber has his home run sprees, and then he does a lot of walking and striking out. Nick Castellanos has his sprees where he can't lay off the outside pitch. The bottom half of the lineup isn't amazing. It's okay. I don't know. I mean,
you kind of feel like it's, I don't think it's a disaster. So this may not be the best analogy, but is moving the lineup around like moving the decks around on the chairs around the deck of the Titanic?
There's Negadelphia right there.
Well, if there's no excitement, maybe there's acknowledgement that we've perhaps missed our window with this lineup. And, the pitching is still going to be great, please God. But, I think a large part of our mojo and a large part of why we win is we get off to hot starts with a guy like Schwarber at the top of the order.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
So are you just compounding our problems by changing the lineup? I agree we got to do something different.
Right.
But I don't know if that difference in putting Turner at the top of the lineup makes you a World Series team.
I think the whole idea is really that it goes back to what Schwarber was saying earlier. You started out 4 years ago in the World Series, then you drop down to the championship, then divisional, and it's kind of like like I said last week, it is the message getting stale, just from the standpoint of, can this team compete with the Dodgers? And I think hands down the answer is no. I just think, from top to bottom in that organization. Yeah. Now, it's still hard for the Dodgers to come back and win a World Series again.
Well, that's why I said I think it's like it's almost like they're relying on luck.
Right.
Like the only way they can beat the Dodgers is if they're hot. If they're hot, they can beat anybody.
Right.
But so can any team that's hot in the playoffs.
Right.
Listen, it's not even the Dodgers though, right? Are they the first? Are they going to be better than the Braves? Are they going to be better than the Mets?
Yeah.
Are they even in the top 2 in the East?
Right.
Yeah. But the Braves have never seemed to be a real challenge for them. You know what I mean? It's more you're looking past that, which is never a good thing in sports to look past. You never look for the game down the road. Right. You always look at the next game. But it's kind of like if they're gonna advance to what they really want to do, which is win the World Series, they're probably going to have to beat the Dodgers. So can they compete with them on paper? No. I mean, the Dodgers are just the Dodgers.
I guess what I'm holding out hope for is that they'll make some big moves finally at the deadline this year that could put them over the top. Like, for example, maybe the Angels struggle this year and they can get Trout at the deadline.
But isn't Trout isn't Trout just another big swinger?
Yeah, no, he hits for average.
Yeah, but here's the thing about Trout and Harper. They're also getting older.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of mileage on them. I think the team is just I see this team heading kind of on a downward trend. And that's why I said, when we picked our wins, I think one of you picked 93 wins, one of you picked 90, and I said I think it's gonna be more like 85 or 86, something like that.
That would be a really bad year for them,
which would be considered a bad year. Yeah. But I think you have some teams on the rise, and You have some teams that are they're on the brink, like Atlanta, just can't seem to get over the top, but they've still got a lot of young talent. That's great. I hate to say this because I feel like the Mets are as cursed as the Jets. I mean, it's the same team, just one different letter.
Yeah.
But, Juan Soto, he adds a pretty big bat to that lineup. And if he produces, it's going to change things for the Mets. Now, he's also kind of full of himself. So we'll see where that goes. But I think there's a lot of challenges for the Phillies this year.
Definitely.
On top of here we are again.
I'm holding out hope, using Schwab's words. I'm holding out hope that perhaps this year we go back more into that underdog role where everyone seems to be. I mean, listen, we're all kind of saying the same thing, that we've given up, and then maybe that's our rally cry.
Right.
That we come up and we sneak up on some teams.
Well, that's what Castellanos said this year. Castellanos was like, nobody's expecting us to do anything now. So, pressure's off. We're just going to go out and play ball. It's a long season. We'll see what happens.
I think I think you get the underdog fire once, the true underdog fire, and that happened. I think reigniting that is a little difficult. That's just the way I feel. Pat suggests that maybe Aaron Rodgers can play first base for the Mets. That would be great.
That's Pat off track.
Yeah, well, but I understand where he's coming from.
All right, let's wind this down. Let's talk about what we're watching.
Follow the Sports Porch Philadelphia podcast on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, or anywhere you get your podcasts. And of course, we encourage you to hop on over to YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're really trying to grow that at Philadelphia Sports Porch. And if you're an X type of person, we're at Philly Porch on X. Last thing of the evening, the Grand Schwabini is going to explain to us why we do this for you, our loyal fans.
We do this because we care about you, because we love you, and we feel for you when you are sitting around the couch with your family or your loved one, and you don't know what to watch on TV. And there's so many choices. What do? Guess what? You just listen to us. We will tell you what to watch or what not to watch, because we are here for you, our listeners, our viewers. I'm very happy to provide this service for you. We all are.
Thanks. So what are we watching? Streaming services, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Netflix, all that kind of stuff. Mark, we're going to start with you. You are watching or watched.
I watched a movie on Netflix called Resball.
That seems strange to me.
The reason why I put this on there was I know Rob is a big basketball fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see Rob scrolling through Netflix one day and saying, watch this. It's a movie about, a team on the reservation. That has a couple star players. One of them dies, takes his own life. Suicide is a very common thing on the reservation.
So this is Native Americans playing basketball.
Yes.
Okay.
And then kind of like the guy who sort of played second fiddle to him had to kind of really become the leader of the team. Now, look, was it entertaining? Sure. I mean, look, bottom line is, some team's going to go from, being a total mess to being really good. You're always going to have some feel good moments, but I would say it was not special.
That's a thumbs down.
I don't think you need to watch it. It's not really a thumbs down. It's kind of like a hovering in neutral, but I would pass.
Okay. Schwaber passes on Resball on Netflix. Rube, you are watching, or you watch. I'm guessing you probably saw this, but because of the events in the news the last few days, you went back to watch it.
100%.
Who's
so?
Yep.
So God rest his soul, Gene Hackman. I think one of the most,
and his wife and the dog,
and his wife and the dog. Pound for pound, one of the best actors I think in our generation, just an amazing actor. Hoosiers, my all-time favorite movie, sports or otherwise. Love it. I think I probably have watched it 500 times. Yes, I got a lot of I got nostalgic for Gene Hackman, and for those of you who haven't had a chance to watch it, it's the story of a coach who's given a second chance due to an unfortunate incident that happened in a previous coaching stop. I believe he hit a kid in a spur of the moment type of thing, and he moves to Indiana, and he is asked to go coach a very small town team. I think Hickory, and turns that team into a champion. And I also believe it's based on a true story from everything that I've heard. It's just an amazing movie, and I think one day when we get another dog, we will name him Jimmy Chitwood.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
It was a great movie. Of course, I enjoy Hoosiers, one of my favorite sports movies of all time. Gene Hackman. Those are some crazy events. Something doesn't seem right to me. You guys?
it sounds like carbon monoxide to me, but
They said no.
Really?
Yeah, they said no on that.
Something's
off, guys. Something's off.
I heard that he had passed. I knew he was 95, so I wasn't surprised. Then I heard the rest of the story, and so I thought maybe it was one of those I can't live without you things, right. Either side of that coin.
Mm-hmm.
But then I heard the dog was in the closet. Like I can't say that anything I heard has come out as a fact, because in truth, I haven't been riveted to any breaking stuff about it.
I'm sure you'll watch the documentary when it comes out.
I will 3 times, but I don't. Yes, it does sound strange to me, but it also sounds to me like they're not trying very hard.
It does seem like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it's one of those. I don't want to sound harsh, but he was 95.
Right.
I mean, his wife was in her 60s. So I think that's kind of the
I know they found pills near her. I'm thinking what happened was he maybe just had like a heart attack and died. She kind of thought, I can't live without you, and maybe was depressed and took some pills. And then maybe the dog wasn't fed for 9 days, and so it died.
You know what, Schwaber? I think you
think I got it.
I think you nailed it. Oh yeah, that's the wrong music.
But thank you, Gene Hartman, for all your good work.
And Gene Hackman.
Yes, thank you, Gene Hackman.
Did I say what did I say?
You said Gene Hartman, but I think you were conjuring up the great Gene Hartman.
I got to admit, I do love Gene Hackman and Hoosiers, but I can't really say anything else. I thought he was phenomenal.
Crimson Tide, The French Connection.
The Birdcage. He was great in The Birdcage. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, and I'm playing this music because I don't know why I'm playing this music.
Overrated,
but I'm going to leave.
Rest in peace.
I'm going to leave you guys with this. I have never seen Hoosiers.
Are you serious?
I am
dead.
I have never seen
God. You shouldn't even be allowed.
There you go. Okay, you've been watching the Philadelphia Sports Porch all over the world on Facebook, YouTube, and X. And of course, I'm going to drop the podcast right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your freaking podcasts. And you can always go over and subscribe to us on YouTube at Philadelphia Sports Porch. For the Grand Schwabini, for Ruben, Texas, I'm your TD. We are out.